Alright guys, so I'm back here again in the workshop with the 2-cylinder 750 two-stroke out of the 94 Kawasaki XI Super Sport. It turns out that this has not been rebuilt before. It's all, like, this is the first rebuild, so I'm going to try to do some porting on it today and maybe see if I can get a little bit more cooling out of it. I don't want to mess with that too much because I don't want to cool the thing and make it not run right. But I got all the welding done on this, and I converted it from this water sleeve cooling the exhaust temperature and then the water exiting on the outside of this pipe. And I took the die grinder and I did a little bit of work on the inside of this pipe after cutting it open and redirected it to the inside of here, which I know it's shaped like that for a purpose, and that is to keep the water out of that pipe, but I don't really care. It's not really going to go up in there because jet skis don't do stoppies. But we're getting rid of all this heavy stuff back here. This is like where the water is first introduced. It's like the exhaust elite, and there's my nippers. But yeah, that's basically gonna go, and I've just got to make something that gets the exhaust from the end of that expansion chamber up to about right here, because that's where the rubber tube that goes through the hole down to the by the impeller housing goes. I do need to do a little research and figure out whether there's a reason for why expansion chambers get a skinny hole at the end. I'm probably not going to cut that open yet because I don't want to ruin the purpose of the expansion chamber altogether. But I do see, you can probably see it too, that is definitely a lot bigger than that. And I am going to take this little, I'm sure it has to do with sound, off. Alright, so I got kind of a table in here. I wish we would have built this thing a little bigger, the shop. But I mean, it's sure as heck a lot better than working up in the garage with 3 cars in there right now. I thought I'd show you guys the starter gear sketchiness. Like, what the... Who came up with the idea to have the actual spring part of the starting system on like a separate mechanism than the actual starter is? I guess it's for space reasons, but it sometimes it doesn't like engage all the way, so I might need to check out the teeth on that, see what's up. I'm gonna start by taking this flywheel off. So there's about a 1/4 millimeter gap, a little bit more than a 1/4 millimeter gap between the cylinder wall and the piston. That's if it's flush against one side. There's a little bit of dirt in there right now, so it's probably even a little bit more than that. But they sell the pistons 0.5 millimeter oversized with the rings that fit those exact pistons, and I assume that when you cross hone these, then it just takes off that much, so we'll see. Question mark? They even made it to where you could fit a wrench around here for when you're impacting this bolt off, because they know they put enough Loctite on it to require that. And you can see they made it with threads right there and back there. The bolt goes in the very back, but you can put something in here to push it out. Well, after measuring the thread count, like per millimeter, or however they do that, 1.5, it turns out that the actual main part to the the bolt puller set is what fits in that thread, but that's not threaded, so I don't want to destroy that. Alright, so Fastenal is closed, and I'm not going to get that bolt identical to the one in my flywheel puller. So I'm going to try to get a bolt that goes in where this one, the actual stock one, would go, that I can just smash, and then I'm going to try to heat it a little and just kind of slowly get it out. Okay, so I got this one off of a lawnmower deck, it looks like, heads painted black. It's 10 thousandths smaller right here, which will be just fine, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the standard off of there, and then put the metric ones on. Alright, so this is an M10 1.5 die. Alright, so I got the bolt threaded and in there, and I'm not going to pry up against this casing. I'm actually going to stick the screwdriver that I happened to bend trying to get the cylinder head off because of all this corrosion on here. But I'm going to stick it back in there, and then there's like a piece of casing, and I'm going to pull this way, not that way. So that way it's pushing on that ring gear, which isn't worth that much to me, so I'm going to try to get it off. Okay, so it did move a couple millimeters doing it that way, but it was very slow. So I ended up realizing that they drilled this hole for the bits to put in a little bit too deep. So I basically, and you can see it's got a ball there, so I basically took off just enough to make it work. Now you can see instead of bottoming out with room to spare on here, it's just enough to hold it in, and it's not going to fall out because the ball is still in there. See how it goes. Yeah, that's where the struggle comes with that hammer process. I'm going to clear this table off. The air compressor is on 60 psi right now, so I'm going to let it build up back up to 132. I just said heck with that. I ended up just grinding all the rest of that sleeve off, and I'll drill it out deeper later. There's still like, I don't know, like 1/4 inch deep hole there, but that's not enough for the little ball to reach. Now it's actually in there, threaded straight. Might want to go forward. Air compressor's full too now. There we go. Should have just done that the first time. Spent 2 hours on that. I didn't do any damage to the flywheel, luckily, with heating it up and everything. But the ring gear's pretty jacked, but that don't matter. That's just what starts it. It don't drive on that. Most of my ring gear is smashed in the bottom of this case here. The sketchy starter gear, spring starter, is working just fine. It engages properly when you spin it the right way. Also, when you go to replace the starter, having this small gear allows you to just pull it right out. But these O-rings need to be replaced, obviously. They're all corroded. But this thing is super hard to spin. It is not easy at all. It's just wanting to roll around. I don't know if that's normal or what, but it works. Definitely don't see a problem with the ball bearings. Spins very easily. Unlike the 4-strokes with the metal to metal. Except for dirt bike engines. Metal to metal as in no ball bearings or roller bearings between the piston and the crank, or the piston head and the connecting rod. And if you think I don't have to take the bottom end apart, you're wrong, because there was clearly a leak somewhere, whether that was oil hose that broke off of the actual oil pump, or if there's a bad gasket in the crankcase. I don't really care. They're all getting replaced anyway. It does not want to come out, and this is a solid crankshaft, and I just do not want to mess with it. The connecting rods are a little loose, but they're just good enough for what I'm doing with it. I mean, they should be replaced, but honestly, I think that the fact that this is not a solid crankshaft is a little sketchy. I don't want to just like put it in the press and hope that it's lined up when I put it back in, because I think something will go wrong there. So I'm just going to clean everything out with air in between the bearings and stuff as best as I can, and then keep it clean everything up, and then polish the bottom of this for better air. Obviously I can't polish the inside of this, but I can on the top side, and then just polish a lot of things, especially the exhaust ports, get them real smooth, and then put it back together what we can without buying gaskets, because this is all just like normal RTV sealant. I've been getting this gasket material off with this little tool here, because it's got kind of a rounded touch safe edge to it, so it won't scratch the aluminum too much. And then I'm going to use this little Dremel right here with a polishing wheel, a stiff abrasive polishing wheel, to get the rest of it off without grinding grooves in it. Alright, so I got that all cleaned up.